The Wellness Show, episode 142.
Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyson Bannigan, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. So welcome to the Wellness Show, and this is Tyson Bannigan, the host, and today we're continuing on the theme of healing Sasquatch and deeper connections to the star people. So I'm very excited to have a very good and well-known person on the call to talk about these things. His name is Kawani Lapsaradas, and he has many degrees. He has a BA, he has an MS, I don't know what an MH is, but he's a holistic health consultant, master herbalist, master dowser, with a background in psychology, conservation, holistic health. He has academic degrees from universities in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Durham, and North Adams State College, University of Wisconsin. It goes on, and involved in the Society for Psychic Research in Milwaukee. His interest is in becoming an authority on the Bigfoot Sasquatch phenomena. He has meticulously researched this subject for the last 55 years, and that's how we met. And he is also a social scientist and both a Sasquatch and ET contactee. He's a world traveler, an amateur naturalist, an avid backpacker with wilderness skills. He spent 5 years out of the country living in England, East Africa, and Japan, then later immigrating to Australia, and has visited over 40 countries around the globe. He was in the Himalayas in 1968, investigating the Yeti, or the abominable snowman, in 1973, and conducted an ethnographic study in conjunction with the Colombian Institute of Anthropology in Bogota, living amongst the Tucana Indians of the Upper Amazonian. And it goes on and on. He's a scientist, and he was first telepathically contacted by the Sasquatch and an ET simultaneously, which was a shock of his life. To further complicate matters, the contactee changed him, and he developed psychic abilities overnight, which he describes in his book. This was as a wake-up call. When triggered, a spiritual transformation occurred. And so let's begin this journey together. And I know that you have many, many things you want to talk about, but let's start with the aspect of learning from the Sasquatch, really the primary ability of herbs for healing. I think that's one of your principal areas of interest. Am I right?
Yes. Yes, I started out, my interest was to get a master's degree, my fourth academic degree in holistic health and health planning from the University of Wisconsin. So I enrolled in the program, but 1 week into the program, my father was killed in an accident in Vermont, and my mother had passed on before. And when I finally started back into graduate school, I realized I had 3 ailments that were pre-ulcerated stomach, migraine headaches, and a nervous condition where my hands were shaking. Now, this never, ever, ever happened before until, again, my parents passed away. And so I, for the first time in 9 years, I guess, at that time, I sat down in my room and started praying because I didn't know what to do. I went to different people, different professionals to heal all this, and nobody could do anything, it seemed. But, you know, to me, it was psychosomatic. But as I was praying for the first time in 9 years, I asked Jesus Christ to heal me. I didn't know what to do. And all of a sudden, Jesus Christ appeared in my room, put his hand on my right shoulder, and I was instantly healed. And after that, I had these abilities and desire to heal more than ever. Eventually, after getting my master's degree, I had started working for a First Nations urban agency, working for Indian people, and I met a woman named Kiwe Denokwe, woman of the Northwest Wind. She was an Ojibwe shamaness. She was a traditionalist and spoke her own language, but uniquely, she also had a PhD in ethnobotany. And I studied with her. I ended up studying actually with 5 master healers after I graduated with my master's in holistic health. And so all these things, not realizing that there were so many areas here that I was involved in that I would be actually eventually doing healing work myself as a health consultant. This continued on in studying with Kiwetinoque out in her wilderness island in Lake Michigan, where there were Sasquatch and Star People, which she had seen both and so forth over the years. I thought my first time, which was a year before I went out to this island and so forth, I'm sorry, 2 years before that, a ET and a Sasquatch came to me in Wisconsin when I was out at the edge of the woods and talked to me. And it was the shock of my life. At the time, I was an assistant director of Indian Urban Agency. I was working part-time as a hypnotherapist. One of my degrees is in psychology. And I was doing a series of lectures at the Medical College of Wisconsin. So I was very ill prepared for all this psychic stuff. Mm-hmm. It really confused me. I had zero fear, absolutely no fears, just was confusing for me. And I said, well, I'll never tell anyone because this is a one-time thing. Well, it wasn't one time. It's been ongoing since September 1979. And now I've documented 402 people who also have had telepathic connections and conversations with the psychic Sasquatch. 17% of the 402 people have had either ET with the Sasquatch that they observed, or a spaceship landed, and within the hour there was a Sasquatch looking in their window or walking around their ranch. So William James said it only takes one white crow to prove that all crows are not black. Mm-hmm. Well, honestly speaking, I have 402 white crows. How many more does it take for people to realize that the Sasquatch are an evolved people, involved with star people from other realms, and are extremely evolved, 100 times more evolved than we are. In fact, they're more human than we are because, first of all, they don't go around murdering each other. They don't start wars. They don't destroy the environment that sustains them. So who's more human here? So here right now, the planet's dying, they told me, and it's a mess. It's really maybe the worst time in the history of the planet right now, where anything could happen on any level to destroy part or all of planet Earth.
Hi, this is Courtney Starhart here, and I'm here to talk to you about this wonderful new project called Finding the Force. It's an amazing adventure that I've started with my friend Tyson. We are carrying over 100 years of collective knowledge together that we want to present in a digestible way to modern people. We're all looking for deep magic, and we can feel it in our bones. A lot of us are being called right now to delve into something much deeper than what we've currently got. So we're using materials like the 4 agreements, and we're basically giving you the playbook, the step-by-step on how to find the force inside of you. It's not something you're going to find outside of yourself. It's something that's within. And we want to take you on your next best step every single time, because we need to pray for miracles. We all know that it's a crazy world out there right now. We can't fall into fear. And right now we have to learn how to work together and pray for those miracles. So join us at Finding the Force, and we look forward to seeing you on Facebook and on the website. Bye for now.
Yeah, and we brought it about ourselves. I mean, what humanity does in order to create this crisis that hopefully evolves us to, a second order change rather than a systems collapse. So here we are. We've created this for ourselves. But it's really interesting that really they're here to really give us a message, and it's in many ways it's a good news message. I mean, we created the mess, but the Sasquatch are also telling us that we have the ability to clean it up. And I think that's the good news story. And I'm hoping that, you know, the words of wisdom that you're communicating, that channel that you have, and 400 odd people that are, you know, that prove that this is an ongoing phenomena. Like, this is the evolutionary step for humanity, that this knowledge can literally be reestablished on planet Earth. It's almost like we're having to, what would we say, deprogram ourselves or de-evolve back to the original state. It's not as though we're evolving anymore. It's almost like we're getting rid of the trauma that's in the way of our magnificence and our connection to source. And I would think that the Sasquatch have an integral part to play in that discovery of who we are, who we really are.
Yes, it's true. That's what they want to share who we really are and what our purpose is here. And I mean that. Some of this stuff sounds science fiction to people. And, you know, if so, then at times I felt like an actor in a science fiction movie, like almost all the time, because I get up some mornings and my guide, Snowhawk, would say to me, you know, good morning. And as I go in to make coffee or something. And so, you know, they're wonderful people. And the planet's dying and they want to wake people up. And they realize that it's only a certain amount of people, a percentage, that are going to wake up, which is sad, because the majority of people seem to be caught up in, in materialism. I mean, capitalism has become a political cancer that's spread all over the planet, and everybody wants all this material stuff in place of anything spiritual. Spiritual meaning respect for all living things. So the Sasquatch said all this has led to greed and power hungriness, and that's our biggest problem in the world is greed. Once you get a little bit of materialism, people have a tendency to want more, and those in power want more power, and you know, they want yachts and boats and nice houses in the country, all these things, you know, that they feel is the most important thing to them, which it is not. Both the Star people and the Sasquatch people have emphasized, since 1984, they've emphasized to me the importance of karma, that we're here to resolve karmic issues, to forgive. One of the key things of this whole thing is learning to forgive, learn to forgive other people for who have, you know, harmed us in some ways. So they're sharing a lot of spiritual information that could help the planet. And the Star people said they've gone to several different leaders, but the ball has already started rolling. The snowball keeps accumulating. And so they said they can't stop it. It's already in the middle of everything. And to put on the brakes and do something different politically, it doesn't look like it's possible. So nothing was ever achieved of the ETs appearing and visiting and give messages that the planet's dying, you know, environmentally, ecologically. And we're speeding it up with you know, everything that we're doing. So we don't have leaders. We simply have greedy people, it seems, running our government and maybe other governments of the world. They're not tending to human needs. They're there to make sure that needs are met. And that's not happening. Their own needs are being met. So there's something wrong with this picture.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Hopi prophecy was the same in going to the United Nations, that we're at the end of this age, and that to be aware, we need to change our ways. So really what, and all that is dire. There's no doubt about that. I'm excited about, in the midst of all this, is the birth of new awareness or new consciousness or the rise in awareness. And I know that you're involved in that as well, which is having to do with your own evolution in consciousness. your own managing of your own body, like healing the war within, healing the sacred body, which is a reflection of the sacred earth. And I think the Sasquatch have visited you and talked to you about that at the foot of your bed. I mean, they actually helped you pull you out of a very dire circumstances in your own health. So I think that they are available to do that for humanity. Not that we don't have to do it on our own, but they are there to help us.
Hi, this is Courtney Starhart here talking about Finding the Force. It's an amazing new program that we have for you, and it's basically all about staying in your heart. The path to liberation is through unity consciousness, and that requires being in your heart field. The way that we're going to perform the miracles that we need on the planet right now is by getting into that unity consciousness of no conflict. And there were lots of examples in books like the Celestine Prophecy, where we saw that when people fell from grace into a fear state, that they were more susceptible to the things that they were actually afraid of. So what we need to do right now is to elevate our consciousness and stay there. So Tyson and I are doing this program called Finding the Force that you can find on Facebook, or you can find it at findingtheforce.com. And we welcome you to join us. There are all different levels of membership, but we're going to ask the people who are really serious about this to jump on board and download this playbook that Tyson and I have cooked up together with our community. So thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
Is that not correct?
Yes, they've helped me numerous times when I was told I could never walk again because of a ruptured disc, and I was in a wheelchair. The pain involved on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst at all. My pain was a 10.5. All I did is lay in bed suffering in pain. Nothing worked, nothing helped. And I had friends and neighbors bring me food, do my laundry, that kind of thing. And I sought out everybody I could to try to heal. And of course, again, I could not walk. And they told me, a neurosurgeon said, surgery is the only thing that will work. And but it's experimental. So I'm not sure why, but I said to him, I said, no, I'm going to leave, and I'm never going to come back here to see him. And he said, well, I'll give you some painkillers, but when they're gone, I guarantee you'll be begging me to do the surgery. And I said to him, goodbye, that's it. And not knowing, but when I went home that night after I exhausted all avenues of trying to heal, I laid in bed and I was thinking that I was fortunate to be living in the Oregon foothills of the Cascades at the time. This was 1987, and that there was a UFO flight line, and I've invited people to come, and certain days during the week, you'd see the spaceships come in and land on the other side of the mountain from me. And the plain as day, just as plain as can be. There's no mistake in what it is. And so I started telepathing to them out of desperation. I just laying there. If I moved my head a little bit, the pain intensified. So I was like really in a bad way. Yeah. So the first day I telepathed all day long, no answer. The second day I telepathed all day long, still no answer. And by supper time, I just broke down and wept and wept. I was so frustrated. The pain was so bad. And I just said, nobody cares. I've got no options. And, I don't know what to do. And that evening, when I reached over to shut the lights up, I was laying in bed, I heard shuffling behind me. And as best I could, I turned around to look. And there were 3 little, around 4 foot tall beings standing there. And they said telepathically, we're here to heal you. And I said, thank you. God bless you. And all of a sudden I was put out, and I was getting 4 and 5 hours sleep a night. And it was not restless sleep. Mm-hmm. It was a restless sleep. It was not a sound sleep. And so I was exhausted constantly as well. And so shortly after they put me out, I heard a strange voice in my head of some language, weird language, and it woke me up. And I opened my eyes, and one was to my right, one to my left, and one behind me holding a cylindrical object in his hand. And I looked up at him and I said, "Oh, it's only you guys. I love you." Now, the two greatest forms of adulation in the universe is "God bless you" and "I love you." Love and God being synonymous. And so that's all I could think of. I mean, they came to heal me. And of course, they never even asked me if I had insurance.
All right. Yeah,
But,
they didn't need your SIN card.
Right. And the next morning, I woke up 10 and a half hours later. I was completely rested, zero pain, and I just laid there thinking, I don't believe what happened last night. Is this real? And I sat up and sat at the edge of my bed and put my two feet on the ground and started saying my morning prayers. And I just sat there and kept giggling because I had no pain. I knew I could walk, but I sat there for the longest time and finally got up and walked to the bathroom. I didn't notice there was pressure on my lower spine, no pain, and that I could only take a short step, not at my normal gait. And I found that strange. I said, gee, I hope that heals, whatever's going on. Well, I stayed home all day, giggling and smiling to myself, and it was unreal. It was just magic-like, and a miracle, certainly. And that night, when I shut the light off, there was shuffling again, and they said to me, "We have to do one more healing on you." And I said, "Fine, thank you again, and come ahead." And they put me out, and the next morning I had a full gait. And it was interesting because 2 weeks later, I wanted to visit one of my closest friends who owned a 1,000-acre ranch in the wilderness. And I used to visit him every month or so and spend the whole, maybe a 3-day weekend with him, and him and his family and so forth. Anyway, and that's what my plan was for the weekend. And on that Friday, I just remembered that I didn't have any money for gas, that I had to go into town, into Roseburg, Oregon, and to the bank. Well, they didn't have ATMs back then, and this is 1987. And so I quickly drove into town, and when I arrived, the bank closed at 5. It was 7 minutes to 5. So I parked the car on a Friday night, and I jogged up the street. And just as I got across the street from the bank on the corner, one of the doctors that I had saw that said I'd probably never walk again was crossing the street. And he was just coming to my side with his eyes as big as golf balls. And he was bald-headed, and he kept pointing down to my feet, rubbing his head, pointing, and his mouth was moving, but nothing was coming out. And I looked at him and said, "Have a nice day, doctor." And I jogged across to the bank. So they've changed my life. They've done all kinds of things for me. In 2012, when I had a brain tumor, though I successfully dissolved brain tumors in people, I took the same herbs and combination, the same formula that I use for other people. But within a few days, they said, "It's not going fast enough. The ETs will take you." So they took me a few times and dissolved it. And nothing invasive at all. Just perfectly fine.
Hey, this is Courtney Starhart Hale here to talk to you about Finding the Force. Tyson and I are putting together this amazing playbook for the teachers and the healers so that we can train our tribes. Right now we need to just keep on focusing on our next best steps each day, but there is a way to stay in this elevated consciousness. I think probably a lot of you have seen this scene from Indiana Jones where he's got to cross this great abyss with a burning fire pit at the bottom. And it's by setting his intention clear that he needs to get to the other side, and by following the map that he has, and then taking that first step of faith, that he actually leaps into the solution. And so that's what we're asking everyone to do, is to take that step of faith and to continue to take the next best step, like Indiana Jones. It really does require a playbook, though, because a lot of our ancient knowledge has been lost or sequestered. Fortunately, Tyson and I have 100+ years of experience together that we can share with you and boil down to like a step-by-step program. So we're asking people to come on board and to explore finding the force with us and create community all over the world so that we can perform these miracles that need to be performed in our times. And so that we can also integrate the energies of this consciousness that's coming into the planet right now. So we have a lot of science behind it, we have a lot of research, and we have a lot of great information. And we're looking forward to seeing you. You can find us on Facebook at Finding the Force, or you can find us at findingtheforce.com, where you can join up and be part of the tribe. Bye for now.
So I'm wondering, as that you were at your own personal crisis point, where literally there was nowhere else for you to go, which allowed you to reach beyond your capabilities at that point and ask for assistance. And really, isn't that where we are collectively, or some of us with this understanding are in humanity, at the humanitarian level? And I want to believe, and I hope I'm right, that by when we arrive at that collectively, or enough of us have that plea for assistance, that there will be that type of assistance from our space brothers and from the Sasquatch to assist us to do that collective healing that we need to do. What's your sense of that?
Yes, they said that. They're going to go to the people of the highest vibrational frequencies. That is, people who are compassionate and empathetic and that reach out to humanity and want to help the planet. They're the types that aren't tossing cans of soda or beer, empty beer cans out the window when they're driving along, things like that, that respect the earth. And those people who are thinking in terms of helping others and helping the planet are those that have the highest vibrational frequency that they will help. So yes, they said they're going to reach out to make sure that we get the help needed, because that was their original, as far as Sasquatch, their original job here was to help their hairless human brothers. And that changed, and there was a division. But all this is described in the book, The Sasquatch Message to Humanity by Sunbow, that we published. I wrote the introduction to that. So there's a lot of this information is in my two books that can be people can find, and more information on www.psychicsasquatch.com and also sasquatchpeople.com. I know I've done a lot of healing work because of the Sasquatch helping me, but also the ETs told me stuff. I discovered I had liver cancer in 1990, and during 1991, I moved during that time from Oregon to Flagstaff, Arizona, and I didn't do anything about it. I didn't do absolutely anything. So I was just in a very depressed state at the time. This was January 91. And during that time, I met a First Nations lady that lived in Sedona, and she wanted to discuss healing and spirituality. And I visited her at her home in Sedona. And for the last hour, and I still remember this, I was yawning every 5 or 10 minutes. And finally, when midnight rolled around, I said, I better leave. And she said, I don't want you to leave because you got a ways to drive back, and I don't want you going off a cliff. She says, why don't you stay in my guest room for the night and leave in the morning? So I thought, hey, that's fine. And so I did. When I got into bed and shut the light off, immediately there were 4 6.5-foot kachinas at the foot of my bed. And they stayed for 50 minutes talking to me about my life, about liver cancer, and what would heal it completely. I'm a master herbalist, so I listened carefully, and they told me what to do. And So 2 days later, I collapsed and finally was able to get all the herbs needed. And 5.5 weeks later, I was cancer free.
Wow.
So
Great story.
So a lot of what I learn, I pass on to other people and help them. So my whole life is devoted to God and to helping the planet. There's nothing else more important. I don't care to get another motorcycle or a boat or things that people think are the most important things. The most important things I already have, and I just want to share them as much as possible to fulfill my purpose here before I cross over. I mean, I'm in my mid 70s now, and so I'm still plugging away and plan to do it for some time. And of course, I'm married to Kelly, who's a bit younger than I, and we have a 6-year-old we're raising. So I'm enjoying life, and I'm supposed to be retired, but I'll never really retire. It can be a wonderful world if you make it wonderful.
It sounds like you're talking about me. I'm 73 and just getting into the stride of it all, with a background in stewardship as well. And really, that's the message that Kelly was talking about, as the role of the Sasquatch as being really the planetary stewards and reminding us of that importance. I wanted to ask you a question. I know that you're about to do your second gathering, and the first one, according to Kelly, and I did read a bit about it, was highly successful. And we were talking about, the fact that you are at this crisis point, a number of times in your life, which caused you to reach out and ask for assistance, which you gratefully received from Star People and from the Sasquatch. And we come to the conclusion, and through the question I asked you, that the Sasquatch and the Star People would do the same collectively for us. So I'm wondering, at the conference, do you take the time to collectively bring people together and help them learn how to connect heart to heart, to do that work, to literally bring in that connection, to bring that education, that knowledge down so that we can do this transformation, both individually and collectively?
Yes, the conferences are, we had our first conference last September 2016 and here in Chewelah, Washington, which is 40 miles north of Spokane. It's people of like minds. The Sasquatch said that there were several hundred of their people in the surrounding area, since the campus where we have the conferences is literally in the middle of the wilderness. The people have hiked just right outside the campus and have seen mountain lion and bear and so forth. But the reason there were several hundred Sasquatch is because they said this is the first conference that was strictly about them, not about, well, I found some hair in a track, and well, hairs and tracks don't talk. They don't share information with you. It's just, and so they talked to many people who came to the conference. People were seeing them there in the early morning at the edge of the woods. People were going around hugging each other that barely knew each other, telling each other they loved each other, and in a very wonderful way, and sharing information. It was like a family reunion. It's something, I've spoke at 99 conferences so far since 1980, and this one is the first one, and everybody seemed to know each other, even though people came from Norway, Australia, Russia, the UK, Canada, and all over the US, and they'll be coming from New Zealand and Japan and all that coming up this year. But everyone, once you start having these experiences, then who cares to go hunting them or getting a body? The information, the love that one feels, that privilege of talking to them telepathically and sharing information about the planet and our lives is certainly more important than getting a few trinkets that we call, plaster Paris footprints and those kinds of things that seem to be glorified by mainstream researchers.
Well, it was great having you on the show. It was wonderful. I'm going to have all in the show notes how to get hold of you, how to attend a conference. And thank you for being on the show. I enjoyed this immensely. So until next time, and I'm sure we're going to talk again.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Bye for now.
Okay.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, thewellnessstore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.